Well, they also want to not report your LSAT.
And they want to not report.
They're trying to get people to pay full price without hurting their 509 data.
Yeah.
That is so fucked up.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to episode 498 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. I'm Nathan Fox. With me is Ben Olson. We are the co-founders of LSATdemon.com and the LSAT Demon Daily podcast. Ben, our first item on the agenda today is an email from Devin who says, I'm stuck getting questions wrong no matter how much time I take to solve them.
Okay. Devin writes, I've been studying for the LSAT consistently the past 4 months. These past few months, I've been almost exclusively drilling, taking as long as I need to understand the passage, question, and answer choices. However, the troubles arise when I'm doing level 4 to 5 questions and even some level 3s. I can take 10 plus minutes on a single question without even looking at the question until I understand every single word in the passage and think about what I just read.
That's a long time.
That is a long time.
That might be longer than I've ever heard of anybody spending on just the passage. I assume we're talking about logical reasoning here, not reading comprehension. Reading comprehension, 10 minutes to read the passage, depending on your reading speed, might not be, that unusual. But 10 minutes on LR to read one passage, I mean, there's only, 3 or 4 sentences there.
Sometimes just one, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, until I understand every single word in the passage and think about what I just read. Nonetheless, it's almost like it's a whole new problem when I get to the question or answer choices.
Yeah.
Often getting it wrong or correct, but with minimal confidence. Okay, Devin continues, I do not know how to improve, as it is clear my problem is a comprehension issue and falling short regardless of the amount of time I spend on a given question or how much I anticipate what the correct answer will be.
It's awful hard to answer questions like this if we're not talking about it in the context of a real LSAT question. This is the perfect thing, Devin, to bring to class. If you were an LSAT Demon subscriber, this would be like the perfect time to talk to us. You can talk to us in our live classes. You could also hit the ask button. Any of our subscriptions have access to the ask button, and you could ask a thoughtful question about the context of the question. Because otherwise, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of at a loss here, Ben. What do you have advice for Devin?
Yeah, I just wonder if Devin is focusing. Devin is calling it understanding, but I wonder if Devin is focusing on a form of memorization almost, as opposed to translating what you read into comprehensible ideas, not even sentences, just idea. What is the idea that the author is trying to convey? And does that click with you? Because if it doesn't click with you, then I don't know. The ideas underlying these sentences generally are actually not that deep or complex. No, it's just taking the wording and converting them into something that makes sense.
I could see 2 different places where people might get stuck, especially on harder questions. The arguments can be really hard to follow, because the arguments are so bad. They're so shitty that you can't even, it's like, what are you even trying to do here? Right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I guess, Devin, you're spending a lot of time just making sure that you understand that passage, but you got to differentiate between, are they making an argument or are they not making an argument? So are they, one way that you might be able to tell that they're making an argument is if they put in a lot of keywords like therefore, thus, so, since, because. Are they trying to do reasoning? So do they mean for you to understand that part of what they are saying is evidence and part of what they're saying is a conclusion? Or because they do that, I don't know, half the time, maybe a little more than half the time, there's an argument.
Yeah.
But then the remainder of the time, there's not even an argument. It'll just be, well, here's a fact, and here's another fact, and here's another fact. So which is it, Devin? If you're not sure whether you understand, do you see that they are making an argument, or are they not making an argument? Is it just a set of facts? If they're making an argument, Devin, it's critical that you tell me what you think about that argument. Just very common sense terms. Is it like thumbs up, thumbs down? We could start with that. Is it a good argument? Like, if their evidence is true, does it prove their conclusion to be true? Most of the time, the answer to that question is kind of a thumbs down. No, it's actually ridiculous. The conclusion makes no sense given this evidence. I'll tell you exactly why. I have an objection to the argument. And that's how I know that I understand an argument, when I'm able to make a good objection to the argument. If I can look at it, and yeah, this is way before I've read the question or, God forbid, the answer choices. I'm just looking at that argument and I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Here's your evidence. Here's your conclusion. But I can just tell you why that's ridiculous, because what about this? What about this? What about the other thing?
Yeah.
And if I can do that, then now I definitely understand the passage, because I can see they are making an argument and it's a bogus argument. Now, like 10% of the time when they're making an argument, I'll go, oh, wow. If this is a fact and that's a fact, then this other thing here that they're trying to conclude is a fact. But that happens very rarely. And it should be noticeable. Like, if you're really understanding the arguments, it's either going to smell good to you or it's going to smell bad to you. And if you're not getting any whiff of anything, then I don't think you really understand. Now, there are a whole other class, and it's something less than half of the time, they're not even making an argument at all. It'll just be, well, here's a fact, and here's another fact, and here's another fact. But in that case, it's like, okay, well, what do you think about those facts? Do you see any connections between those facts? What might you be able to conclude from those facts? Like, they're not doing any logic. They're not trying to reach any conclusions here. But they did say this fact and this other fact. Could we connect the dots there at all? But then at that point, you do need to read the question, and you need to see what they're trying to ask you about that battlefield. So 10 minutes is definitely too long to spend to just understand 3, 4, 2, 1 sentences.
Yeah.
I can't imagine ever telling somebody that you need to take that long before reading the question. Let me recap it, I guess.
Sure.
Is there an argument? Yes or no? Is the argument good or bad if there is an argument? If it's bad, why is it bad? If there's not an argument, can you connect the dots between any part of the facts that they presented? At that point, I feel like you're prepared to go look at the question and think, okay, what are they asking me about this situation? Then you're going to revise, come up with some sort of a specific prediction trying to answer that question before you start messing with the answer choices. Then go into the answers. I don't know. Do you think any of that's helpful at all to Devin?
I hope so. I mean, it's how we do this test. So hopefully focusing on that helps Devin. I do have one more theory, and that is when Devin says, I understand every single word in the passage.
Yeah.
I'm worried that Devin is zooming in way too much. It's almost like reading a word letter by letter.
Yeah.
Like, if I read the word understand by saying U, N, D, E, R. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm very clear on every single letter in this word, but the meaning is getting hidden by the over focus, right?
Yeah.
It's like, just read the sentence.
Yeah.
Try to make sense of it. Stop when you're halfway through the sentence if you're getting confused, but take the words together, not in these isolated, lonely chunks.
Yeah.
Anyways.
You can't miss the forest for the trees, right? You can't be so focused on the individual words that you're not also zooming out to see the sentence and zooming out further to see the passage as a whole. the
Mm-hmm.
argument as a whole. Is it an argument? Is it not an argument? I could
Mm-hmm.
see how Devin could be getting so locked into every single word
Mm-hmm.
that it's like, dude, was there an argument there? Like, what do you think
Yeah.
about that? And Devin's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't, huh? What?
Yeah.
I was so focused on each individual word. Yeah. All right. Hope that's helpful, Devin. Thanks for writing in.
Yeah. This next one is from Jack. The subject is, how do I get those last few points?
Jack says, hi, Demon Team. I've been following your advice throughout my LSAT journey, and I'm currently PTing with a range from 170 to 175. I'm scheduled to take my first official test in April, but I'd like to score in the high 170s, so 176 plus. How do I go from the low 170s to the high 170s? How much of what's left is a matter of strategy versus luck? I take it one question at a time, don't rush, and review all mistakes thoroughly. Yet, I seem to slip up on one or two questions every section, even ones that I wouldn't consider that difficult. No matter what, it happens every single time. Missing only 2 or 3 questions on a 78 question test feels drastically different from missing 4 or 5. Thanks for your advice, Jack. What do you think's going on with Jack?
Well, when Jack asked how much of what's left is a matter of strategy versus luck, my reaction was, is it either of those?
Right.
It's still just understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to keep doing what you've been doing. Do what you did to get into the low 170s to get into the high 170s.
Yeah.
And that is to find mistakes and learn from them.
It ain't luck. I know
It's
that
not
much for
luck.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what bad strategies you're deploying, Jack, but it's not a matter of luck. You're not going to luck into the high 170s. You're going to get in the high 170s by understanding all the questions. You know, you're going to get paid for the work that you do. You're going to get the questions right, not wrong. 170 to 175 is a great place to be. But like you say, Jack, you're missing 4 or 5 questions per test. That means that there's another 4 or 5 that you're not really solving, right? The demon understanding heuristic applies at all levels of scoring.
Duh.
So the applies
Yeah.
at all levels of scoring. So, Jack, you're good, but not great. You have high understanding, but not super high understanding.
I would say that Jack is great, just not excellent.
Okay, fine. Whatever. The point is, like, Jack's not a superstar of LSAT yet.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
want to score in the 99.9th percentile, which is what you're looking for, you need to be a superstar of the LSAT.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like your goal, Jack. I'm sure that Jack's letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. Like, Jack thinks he has to finish every question in order to score in the high 170s.
Mm.
So he's continuing to go a little bit faster than he's really capable of going with perfect accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still every single time, he says, making, slipping up on 1 or 2 questions every section.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's because you're not being careful enough. I mean, like, when you go back and reread it on review and you're like smacking yourself upside the head going like, how could I miss that one? Well, yeah, it's because you weren't careful enough. Like, you think you're better than you actually are. You've got this goal of 176 or higher in your head, so you think you have to finish, and you know, it's like, well, what you actually have to do is you have to slow down enough to stop making stupid mistakes. Because at every level of scoring, at least half your mistakes are always going to be just like, oh, yeah, well, you weren't careful enough on that one, were you? You thought it was perfect. It wasn't perfect. You submitted that brief.
Yeah.
You gave yourself the chef's kiss. Oh, this is beautiful work, And then your managing partner comes back and says, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just weren't careful enough. So I think you've got to slow down. I think you got to clean it up, right? I would much rather you do 21 questions perfectly than do 25 questions and make 4 or 5 mistakes, which is what you're doing now. Or sorry, you're not. You're missing 4 or 5 on the whole test. You're doing all 25 questions in the section, and you're missing a couple.
Hmm.
And I would rather that you only do 23 or 24 questions in the section and just run the table.
Hmm.
Uh, what do you think about all that? Anything more for Jack?
No, Jack. Yeah, Jack will get there. I'm
Great.
excited for Jack. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, if you want to get your scores into the 170s like Jack, or hopefully into the high 170s like future Jack, please make sure to subscribe to the Thinking LSAT podcast over on YouTube. Your subscription ensures that you'll never miss an episode, and it helps us out in so many ways. So do us a favor and hit the subscribe button, please. Next one is from Science Sally. The subject is, do STEM majors get a break?
Science Sally writes, "Hey, LSAT Demon. I'm currently a junior, double majoring in neuroscience and psychology with a 3.93 GPA.
Nice.
Yeah,
Although
it's
drop the
impressive.
double major. I mean, every
This
single time we
must
see a double major, it's just like, okay, why? Do you
why?
want to be a
Yeah.
lawyer? Are you going to law school?
Hmm.
If you're going to law school, that double major, I don't think does much for you. So, I'd rather you had a 3.97 and only one major. But go ahead.
Yeah. She continues, I've been trying to keep my GPA as high as possible throughout college, but as my coursework gets harder, I do expect it to decline slightly. Maybe graduating with a 3.85 or a 3.90. Okay, well, this just kind of proves your point, Nathan. Don't take on so much work that you suffer a lower GPA.
I suppose it depends what you want to do. I mean, that sounds like pretty good grades for a STEM degree. Now, psychology is, I'm not sure that's STEM, but neuroscience presumably is like she's actually taking hard classes. And so she's got really high grades in a STEM field. My main question is, why the fuck are you trying to mess around with law school? Don't you have better things you could do with your life than go to law school? But I guess I got to hear the rest of her case.
Sure. She continues, I want to get around a 170 score and attend a T20 law school, potentially pursuing IP law.
Don't know why
Okay.
you're settling on a 170 LSAT. I mean, if you can get good grades in STEM, then you've got like a lot of horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that the 99th percentile would be in play, which is, more like 174 or higher. But I'm just not really a fan of specific LSAT goals anyway. So you want the best LSAT you can possibly get if you're serious about law school.
100%.
Okay.
Sally continues, I heard from an admission officer at a T14 school at one of the LSAC forums that they do give some leniency in GPAs from STEM majors. They explain that STEM major applicants are rather rare, and they can acknowledge how certain classes like organic chemistry are notoriously hard and less representative of your potential success in law school.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows that. It's not surprising to these people that OChem is actually hard. And so if you've got the right LSAT and if you've still got solid enough grades, then they'll look a little deeper into it and they'll see, oh wow, okay, so this is a STEM person. You need the high LSAT to really make that make sense to them, though.
Yeah. So Sally ends. I was wondering if y'all could explain your opinions on that. Do you think law schools truly give a bit of leniency to STEM majors' GPAs?
Yes.
And two, do STEM majors need to compensate for lower GPAs with extra impressive LSAT scores?
Also, yes.
Yes, but I guess this just comes back to your first sentence in which you already responded to, Nathan, but that you don't need a double major. That's not going to help you.
Yeah.
So pick one of those, neuroscience or psychology, and get a higher GPA. That's going to do more for your
Yeah.
law school application than having both, which is
Yeah.
literally going to do nothing.
My guess is that the psychology degree is kind of like a freebie, like a ride along degree with a neuroscience degree.
Hmm.
Neuroscience sounds like the one that like is really STEM, and psychology is a little softer. And so it might be that the psychology is actually the easy part of what Sally's doing, and the neuroscience is the hard thing that Sally's doing. And I would encourage you, Sally, to continue on the neuroscience path. I would just strongly discourage you from the law path. Like, why? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Go work in a tech company in neuroscience. Go work on people's brains. Like, I just don't get it. Like, oh, I want to go work in IP law. Oh God. Just to fight it out with a bunch of other like English language specialists. I can't imagine telling somebody, yeah, continue getting a STEM degree so that you can work in IP law. Now, lots of times people have STEM degrees and they then express, okay, I'm interested in going to law school and I think I could be a patent agent and I whatever. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, you do have a credible case here to go become an IP lawyer. I just can't imagine like in advance deciding that I want to do a STEM degree so that I can work in law.
Mm.
Do you have a similar reaction?
I do. I mean, I don't know what Sally knows about IP law or working in patent litigation. I mean, oh, it can be just so drained. It's like you're fighting over words and not actually moving science forward.
Right.
You think you are, yeah.
Right. Instead of like helping people, instead of like solving
Problems.
Alzheimer's or
Yeah.
solving depression or solving brain cancer or whatever, instead of that, no, I want to do all this hard ass work. I want to take organic fucking chemistry so that I can then go sit in a boardroom somewhere and like fight with other lawyers
No, we patented that
about
thing
intellectual
first.
property. Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to be part of the team that builds a portfolio of patents just to protect our company from other patent suits. We're going to have 500 patents that cover all sorts of questionable shit that we didn't even invent, but we're going to go buy these
We went
patent portfolios.
yeah, we bought them. We're nobodies
It has
who
nothing
do
to
nothing.
do with actually
Yeah.
doing science at all. We just bought these patents so that we could then go do
Find people who are successful with remotely similar ideas and then try to leech off of their
try to
profits. Yeah.
squeeze them out because we have all this war chest of patents and go just fight over money.
Yeah.
I mean, like, go save the world, Sally. Go do medicine. Go work in a tech company. I mean, I don't know. I like, hey, send hate mail to us, okay? You can be LSAT famous. Send us hate mail. Tell us why we're wrong about Sally's case with neuroscience and psychology. Please educate us. I mean, we really do want to learn. So, you know, Sally, you can follow up. Find us on thinkinglsat.com and just tell us what we're missing here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would just strongly advise young people not to do this. Like, why? There's so much. I feel like you could actually do good in the world. I really do believe that if you go down this path in as a lawyer, you're going to be basically fighting about money instead of making something new.
Yep. You're the SWAT team. You're going in and you're like a fixer as opposed to an actual like let's move the science forward.
Or you're like a hitman.
Exactly. That's
Or
what I
you're
mean.
like,
yeah.
I mean, it just seems zero sum to me instead of growing the pie,
Yeah.
right? Like lawyers go around and say no to people instead of going around and like creating something new.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, well, we're going to shut that down for a million different ways. There's copyright protection, there's patent protection, there's trade secrets, there's this, there's that, there's other thing. Like we got to make sure we defend ourselves against these other people trying to steal our shit instead of just like, I don't know, doing science and collaborating and making new things in the world.
I
Uh,
mean, to play devil's advocate here for 5 seconds, I guess Einstein, the world's most famous scientist, was
yes.
a patent examiner, but I don't know. I don't know
Well,
how things have changed since
that
then.
also
Yeah.
might be, yeah, before our patent system became as wildly abused as it is now.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and so I don't think Einstein was a lawyer, right? Einstein was a
No,
scientist.
he was a scientist working
Yeah.
in the patent office. Yeah.
If you want to do science, by all means, do science. It's amazing. Do science. I just don't. I can't imagine telling somebody who's currently an undergrad because I really like honestly, if you just want to be a lawyer, you should probably drop the neuroscience major,
Yeah. And then
be a
crush it
psych
in
major,
psych. Yeah.
get
That's,
nothing but A pluses from here on out, and then yeah, I mean you're without a STEM, like without a hard science degree, I think it really hurts your ability to actually practice IP law, but you can still practice very high level law. You can still work at the same companies.
hmm.
Uh, you know, get a
Yeah.
4.3 in psychology and go to a T14 school.
Or drop psychology and just put all your effort into the neuroscience and bring your GPA up. But
Yeah,
to the
in
extent
any
you
case,
can.
we are definitely advising you to get straight A's. Like, do whatever it takes to get straight A's from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, to the extent that top 14 schools admit people with less than perfect grades, they they're gonna be a bit more lenient. They're more willing to see how a STEM person has a reason for having less than perfect grades.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like, you look at Harvard, I'm looking at their 509 report right now. Their median GPA is 3.95.
Yeah, that's their median.
That's their median. Their 75th percentile is a 4.0. So 25% of the class at Harvard has higher than a 4.0.
Yeah.
Another 25% of the class has between a 3.95 and a 4.0. Their 25th percentile is a 3.89. So Sally's talking about dipping below that 3.89, below their 25th percentile, which, Sally, you know what that means. That means that 3/4 of the class has higher grades than that. So yeah, they don't get as many STEM applicants, and it's possible that all of the people that are 3.89 and below are STEM, but you also do need the very high LSAT to make that story sing because their 50th percentile LSAT is a 174. So if you're going to be below their median on UGPA, then you have to be above their median on LSAT to make yourself a credible candidate for that school. Like you're not getting in with below their median, both LSAT and GPA, and except for like extraordinary circumstances.
Keep us posted. Yeah. This
Thanks,
next
Sally.
one, yeah, thanks, Sally. This next one is an article that came in from Demon team member Matt. The subject is Trump signs order limiting public service loan forgiveness and removed options to apply for income driven repayment plans.
Yeah, this is from AP News. President Donald Trump is ordering changes to the public service loan forgiveness program that would disqualify workers of nonprofit groups deemed to have engaged in, quote, improper activities. This was an executive order signed a while back directing the education department to modify the program to deny loan relief to some borrowers. It would exclude loan forgiveness to people whose work is tied to illegal immigration, foreign terrorist groups, or other illegal activity. And I think that it's actually a bigger issue than just that. That's a fairly narrow problem with
Mm,
loan repayment
yeah.
programs. You can't read the news these days without seeing all kinds of red flags about loan repayment programs. I was just reading one yesterday that was talking about the tax bomb that's associated with specifically income based. Sorry, what's it called again?
Income driven. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones where they look at your income and then they adjust your loan payment. Those programs have a much higher than normal chance that you're going to get hit with this huge tax bomb if you do get your loan forgiven. But
So is that tax coming as you go because you're constantly being compensated by not having to pay the entire balance due at that time? Or are you saying that you get hit at the end
at
when
the
they
end,
say
when it's forgiven,
it's
it
forgiven? So
becomes
they forgive
taxable income.
$100,000 and then they say, okay, well, we're going to tax you for
Yeah.
that
And
quote gift.
even
Yeah.
if the federal government doesn't tax it, depending on what state you live in, the state could tax it. So you could end up getting hit. It's not as bad of a tax bomb,
Sure.
but like if let's say you get $100,000 forgiven and you live in the state of California.
Yeah. That's
Well,
13%.
yeah, I mean, like it because you're actually gonna for that tax year, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be in the highest tax bracket or
Mm-hmm.
close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you could be like, oh sure, yeah, I got $150,000 forgiven, but then I had to pay 13% to the state of California of that money.
Wow.
And that's if the loan payment, if the forgiveness even exists.
Yeah, I mean, the irony is that talking about the tax bomb makes some people think, "Oh, well,
Oh, no
fine.
problem.
I'll
Yeah.
take I'll take the forgiveness and then yeah, I'll just pay the taxes on it. I mean, gosh, I got $150,000." It's like, yeah, you're not going to get there. The number of people who actually get their loans forgiven is so small that it is a joke
That's the
to
problem,
plan on
right?
this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like young people counting on Social Security.
Yeah, like what? What
So,
don't
well,
plan on that.
no, no, your retirement. I mean, if your folks are already on Social Security, yeah, that's great. If they're getting paid now, they're probably going to keep getting paid until they die. That's cool. But if you're
Yeah.
20 years old, hoping that when you're 70, you're going to be getting
Or tracking how much money you've contributed to quote Social Security. Yeah, like it's a fictional little chart that they got going for you.
yeah, yeah. I think that the obvious solution here is that you just need to realize that student debt is debt and debt is bad.
And it's
And if you
worse
can
than
avoid
debt.
it, why is it worse?
It's what well, I've lost the term, but it's unforgivable. It's not dischargeable.
Right,
how should we
right.
describe it?
Well,
Yeah.
not only that, but there's no asset that can be repossessed. So
Yeah.
even if you buy a car, let's say you're one of these people who bought a Cybertruck on day one.
Oops. Mhm.
Oops. That is funny. Actually, it is kind of funny how much Cybertruck owners owned themselves by buying just the dumbest vehicle ever made on day one. And it's like instantly worth half, maybe. Like I was reading a story yesterday that CarMax won't take them. Or at least there was some guy who got super pissed, and I can't remember if he sued No, I think he drove into CarMax. People are
Oh,
like mad because
geez.
like CarMax is like, well, nobody wants these, so I can't take it from you. Um, sorry, we can't make you an attractive offer on your Cybertruck. But anyway, if you do buy a vehicle,
Mhm.
it is, your loan is secured against that vehicle.
Mhm.
And so it's true that that car is not worth what you paid for it the second you drive it off the lot. And in the case of a Cybertruck, it might be worth like 40% of what you paid for it the second you drive it off the lot. But if you stop making your payments,
Mhm.
the bank or Tesla will come and they will take the Cybertruck back from you, and your loan will be reduced by the amount of whatever that Cybertruck is worth on that day.
Yeah. Yep.
Same thing if you buy a house, and the mortgage lenders do a much better job of making sure that they're going to be able to get recouped
Mhm.
than car dealers do. But if you can't make your house payment anymore, then the bank will evict you and they will take back your house. And hopefully you won't still owe money on it.
Yeah. Well, that's
If you get your
exactly
Cybertruck
why.
repossessed, you're
Yeah.
almost guaranteed going to owe money on it still.
You're still gonna have to owe money, but that's why they require a down payment, right,
Right.
on a house, so that they can have that cushion in there to
Right.
make sure there's enough money
Right.
to get the house back and get your
Yep.
loan paid back if you don't pay them.
Yep.
But the benefit to you, even though you lose your entire house, is that your debt is wiped away. You cannot do
Right.
that
Because there's
with
something
a
there, there's an
student
asset
loan.
there
Yeah,
that can be repossessed.
yeah.
Uh, even credit card debt, to Ben's original point, even credit card debt, there they might not have assets that they can
Mm.
repossess. You're like, oh, I used it for a Disney vacation and I went out to dinner a million times and I bought myself
I'm an
lattes and
idiot. Yeah.
avocado toast, right? And I
And
racked up,
Starbucks.
I racked up my credit card bill, and then I couldn't make the payments and I went bankrupt. Well, in personal bankruptcy, I think you probably can discharge your credit card loans,
Yeah.
but student loans are actually an exception to this. And I think it was probably meant to be a way to like encourage, because this is virtuous debt or something. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but
Given to you
yeah,
by
so
society and by the
because we want to
taxpayers. Yeah.
encourage people to take on these student loans, we're going to make it safe. We're going to make it easier to get the loans for everybody. Like the federal government's going to guarantee them. But no, if you file bankruptcy, you still have your student loans.
That's so wild. That's so wild.
And
that's
those loans are going to, there's no asset. They're not going to come repossess the piece of paper.
Yeah. Where's that law degree?
But they fucking should. They should just take your degree away from you.
Yeah. Give it back to the school. Say, here.
The thing about that, well, I mean, no, for real, like the school should be on the hook for it, right?
Yeah,
it's like the school, it's like, hey, look, you granted a prestigious JD to this person, but like half of your other JD graduates, they were not able to pass the state bar. So they never practiced law. And some of them couldn't find any job. And some of them filed bankruptcy. They should absolutely claw that money back from the school.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be on the head of that student for their whole life. And it doesn't also, it seems like, okay, so the federal government should be picking up that bill.
Yeah.
No,
What?
the school is the one that walked away with the money. They're the one that printed out a piece of paper.
Informed party in this transaction.
And that. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because they do this with thousands of people.
Yep. They knew what was going to happen.
Well, I mean, I suppose the federal government's complicit as well, right? Like they know.
Yeah.
They know that a frighteningly large percentage of people getting these degrees are going to later have financial difficulties.
It's true that the government does know, but the problem is that the government doesn't fit the bill. The taxpayers do, and the taxpayers are this disparate group of random people, many of whom don't know.
Yeah. We've talked at length about public service loan forgiveness on this podcast in the past. So there are previous episodes. Go to thinkinglsat.com. Maybe you'll be able to find it. But we do have previous episodes where we talked about public service loan forgiveness. And these risks they're not new, but they are extremely worrisome. And it's even doubly worrisome when you take into account the fact that law schools charge everybody a different price. That's the part that makes this really shocking, right? Is that they give scholarship money, which is just discounts, up to 100% of tuition and even over 100% of tuition to people with high LSAT, high GPA. Then those people get the best grades in law school. Then they get the best jobs after law school. And the people who pay the most are the ones with the lowest LSAT, the lowest GPA, get the worst grades in law school, and get the worst jobs after law school. So the people who are most likely to get stuck are the people who paid the most.
Yeah.
And that's where it's a really broken system. It's a third party payer system where, the money's coming from the government, and then it's like future you applicant who's going to be on the hook for it. And the school's just raking it in. And, their incentive is like, well, we want the best students we could possibly get. So, of course, we're going to give discounts to the top applicants.
Yeah.
Because we're fighting for those top applicants. And then it's everybody else who's going to rack up 6 figures worth of student debt and hopefully get it discharged by these programs that currently exist, but apparently can just be removed by executive order.
Yeah, and I'm sure people are upset about the fact that Trump is doing this, and I'm not saying that it's a good thing that he's doing it or a bad thing that he's doing it, but it doesn't matter because there were already so many loopholes before he even messed with it. you just were not gonna get those loans forgiven. So don't plan on it.
Right. Just don't take, I mean, especially when, if you look around at your class in law school, if you look to your left, look to your right, it might be that only one out of the three of you is paying anything close to full price.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just don't want to be that person.
Yeah. You said one out of three? I think that's kind of high. I would say 1 out of 5.
Well, I said anything close to full price. So I tried to kind of like, yeah. So let's pick a school at random. Florida. Have we ever looked at Florida?
We could go to Florida, but we could also just go to lsatdemon.com/tuition.
Oh, lsatdemon.com/tuition. This is new to me.
Wait, this is new to you? Yeah, this is the U.S. average. This takes all the data from all the schools.
Oh, cool. Okay, so lsatdemon.com/tuition. This is an aggregate picture of the U.S. law school financing picture. And you will see that across all American Bar Association schools, there are 19% of applicants, or 19% of students, who are paying full price. Another 40% are paying half or more, but not full price. 33% are paying less than half tuition. 5% paying no tuition at all. And 3% on top of that, who not only are not paying tuition, but are getting paid by the school.
Yeah.
So yeah, add all that up and I guess the real bottom line is, if you're not getting any scholarship at all, there's less than 1 out of 5 people in law schools who are there for full price.
Yeah.
So that's the huge red flag. All right, where are we going next?
Truck Stop Tim.
By the way, since I already pulled it up, in case you are curious about Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Ranked 28th in the country.
Yep.
Median LSAT 169. Median GPA 3.9.
Okay.
Pretty solid looking school, right? You know how they get their numbers that high?
Oh, man. How many people are getting stipends?
26% of the class is getting a stipend.
26%, more than a quarter, is getting paid to go there.
17% on top of that paying no tuition at all. So you add up those numbers and you get 43% of the class that is paying no tuition or getting paid by the school.
Oh, wow. How many people are paying full price?
There's only 14%. Or sorry, there's an additional 14% who are there on more than a 50% discount.
Yep.
So then eventually the hammer falls. There's 31% paying more than half tuition and a very unfortunate 12% who are actually paying full tuition at that school. But can you imagine being one of the 12%?
That's crazy.
1 out of 9 who are paying full tuition.
There's there's a group of people twice as big as your group that's getting paid to go there.
Right.
Oh, that's sad. That is sad.
Right. So it looks scarier at some individual schools than it does at the average school. This is why you need to apply broadly and look very carefully at the offers that you're being given, because you just don't want to be a sucker. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but those of you who are at Florida right now paying full tuition, wow. You're just transferring. It's not directly transferring. It's indirectly transferring money from your future self to the assholes that are sitting there in the classroom with you. Like those people that you hate that are in the front row with their hand up all the time. The gunners that you can't stand. The ones that are getting higher grades than you on your exams. You're also paying them to be there.
You're right. It's an indirect transfer, but just imagine Venmoing your professor and then your professor turning around and Venmoing the guy that just cut you off in class and had a smarter comment because they got in there with a higher LSAT and a higher GPA.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason why they're getting those scholarships is because they have higher LSAT, higher GPA. And I mean, and if you look, it is funny if you look at like in the like mid range of schools, right? Like that school is a pretender to be an a national law school, right?
Yeah.
28th in the country, tied with Boston College, BYU, George Mason, and Utah.
Hmm.
You know, decidedly outside the top 14, probably no aspirations of being in the top 14. I don't think that they probably don't believe that they could actually make it into the top 14, but boy, would they love to say that they're in the top 25
Mm. Yep.
or love to say that they're in the top 20. But the truth is, all these schools are trying to be in the top 25,
Mm-hmm.
and they're out there just aggressively fighting for applicants. And what you see is we've talked about this on the show before, Ben, but when the 50th and 75th percentile LSAT are super close, and
Mm.
then the 25th percentile LSAT is markedly lower,
Yeah.
it's like, well, somebody has to pay for all those stipends.
And it just makes it even worse because they're even more likely to fail once they get there.
Let me tell you the profile of a stipend student at Levin College of Law in Gainesville, Florida. Okay.
Please. Mm-hmm.
The top 25% of the class, so 75th percentile LSAT and 75th percentile GPA, that's a student who would look credible at Harvard because they have a 170 LSAT
Mm-hmm.
and a 3.96 GPA.
Holy cow. Yeah. So they
Pretty
crushed
good,
it
right?
in undergrad and they did very well on the LSAT. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the people who are paying more than half tuition or full tuition, those people, the 25th percentile, have a 164 LSAT or worse. So 6 points lower. And those are a big 6 points. There's a difference between 164 and 170.
Yeah. Well, you should point out too that the 170, it's really 170 or higher, right? Because we don't know.
And the 164 is a 164 or lower.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's at least a 6 point discrepancy.
yeah.
And potentially a lot higher than that if you're in there at the 156 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
GPA, and it's funny because median LSAT 169.
Right
So
below. Yeah.
25th percentile 170, 50th percentile 169.
Yep.
And then somebody's got to pay the bills, and they just have to keep going lower and lower in order to get people who will pay full tuition.
Who are willing to pay. Yeah. Jeez
Right.
Louise. Ugh.
Right. So those people 164 or lower. UGPA, same thing happens. 25th percentile 3.96, 50th percentile 3.90, 25th percentile 3.67.
Wow.
So there's 0.06 difference between the 50th percentile and the 75th percentile.
And then there's a huge drop.
And then there's 0.33 difference between the 50th percentile and the 25th percentile. So this is going to be definitely a situation of haves and have-nots.
Yeah, it's
There's
going to be
gonna be
impossible for those people at the bottom to compete with those people at the top. They're not even in the same
Not-
league. It's
Not
minors
literally
and
impossible,
pretty
but
damn close.
mathematically very fucking difficult.
Yeah.
You know, like if you assume that they're only giving A's to the top 20% of each class,
Mm-hmm.
what are your odds of being in the top 20% in any class if you're there with an LSAT 5 points lower than the median and a GPA that's 0.33 lower than the median?
Yeah.
It's like you underperformed on the LSAT, you underperformed in your entire undergraduate career. So it's like
it's so
you're not
fucked
as
up.
good at school and you're not as good at tests.
It's so fucked up because it's sad in the fact that the people who are accepting these offers are likely accepting them 100% in ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't.
They are literally taking advantage of these people to pay their bills.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know. We always shock people when we talk about this. You know, like we just constant. I mean, if you're a longtime listener of the show, this is nothing new to you.
Yeah.
But we just new people all the time are like, wait, what?
Huh?
They give scholarships for law? I was at an LSAC forum, and the people that were on the stage, the law school representatives, said that scholarships are available, but that full rides are really rare.
Well, actually, what happens is they make it sound like scholarships come from external organizations.
That too. Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, we can help you get scholarships. You can find a $2,000 scholarship over here at the American Bright Institute or whatever, some name.
Just sign up for, just sign. You know, we've admitted you. Like, we just want you to apply. So just please apply right now. And then as soon as you apply,
We'll give you a
Uh,
list.
yeah, then you can come look in the binder in the scholarship, whatever. There's scholar outside. You could write an essay and try to get a $500 scholarship. By the way, our tuition is 35,000
per year.
Yeah, plus 2,600 in fees,
Hmm.
and that's not even the bad offender at all. Yeah, that's like a state school, I think.
Yeah, kind of in
Yeah,
the
that's a
middle.
public school in Florida. That's yeah. There's worse bargains out there, believe it or not. All right, have we bitched about that enough for today?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what else there is to say.
Next one is coming to us from Truck Stop Tim. The subject is, quote, unusual niche personal statement or, quote, traditional personal statement. Now, let me give you a little bit of background first. Truck Stop Tim currently has 3 years left in his undergraduate program. He's currently a truck mechanic apprentice and interns at a criminal defense firm during the summers.
Wait, Truck Stop Tim,
Yep.
TST, why are you worried about your personal statement when you have 3 years left in undergrad? Have you even thought about your GPA, let alone the LSAT?
Yeah. I do not think that this question is ripe. I don't. I do not think that Tim specifically
Yeah.
should be asking this question right now. But let's go ahead and read. Why don't you read Tim's
Sure.
email and then we'll answer it. We'll like answer it if Tim was a senior in college or
Yeah.
applying right now. But
Yeah.
Tim's not anywhere close to applying, so he shouldn't be thinking about his personal statement at all. But
any
go ahead.
stories that are happening now, right, are not going to be as good as the ones that are going to happen 2 years from now. So,
Yeah.
anyways, Tim writes, my question is, which answer should I give to how has your work experience helped you in preparing for a career in law? Okay. Should I go with an unusual niche response, quote, with increased public pressure, the MTO, which is apparently the truck governing body, becomes overzealous in their pursuit to hold someone accountable for accidents, and they end up suing anyone they have minimal grounds for, which includes truck drivers, truck mechanics, and the companies themselves. My experience and license allow me to better represent these defendants.
God awful. Just like absolutely sucks. I hate that so much.
It's not about you. It's about a general problem and then trying to claim that you have expertise in some area that you haven't demonstrated yet.
Humility goes a long way.
Yeah.
You don't know shit about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And especially, it also just sounds problematic when you start off with increased public pressure. The MTO becomes overzealous. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
It sounds like a news article.
Well, I guess that, but it also is just like, there's two sides to every story. And so anytime people come in hot with like calling people overzealous, like you're just describing anybody else as overzealous, you sound like you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah, you sound overzealous. You sound just like coming off as litigious is not what you want to do. You want to sound like you want to come off as a good worker bee. You're organized, you're reliable, you're faithful. You don't have a lot of opinions of your own. You're ready to work your ass off in pursuit of other people's goals.
And get shit done. Yeah.
And get shit done.
So then Tim says, how about this? Should I go on the traditional route, which would sound something like, quote, I worked at a reputable criminal firm and I plan to become a criminal lawyer.
Yeah, I love it. Totally. Perfect. That's fantastic. If that's what you actually want to do, then why would you be talking about civil law, like injury law?
Yep.
What? If that's not what you want to do, if you actually want to do criminal law, then you... Yeah. And anyway, working in the context of a law firm is a lot more interesting. It just makes you sound like, okay, this person knows what they're getting themselves into. The first approach there, Tim, makes you sound like you have no fucking clue what you're getting yourself into. Really. I mean, you think it makes you sound like you do know what's up, but it has the exact opposite of that effect, doesn't it, Ben?
It does. Yeah.
It's just like, no, you work at a fucking truck stop and the owner of the truck stop is bitching about getting sued all the time. And so that you think that equips you to be a lawyer? Like the
Yeah.
and we see this all the time, right? Where people have personal statements that are oriented toward their own personal legal struggles
Hmm.
or their own personal legal involvements.
Yeah. Yep.
Stop it. Not
There's
not interesting.
there's all sorts of side messages that are coming through that you don't realize. Oh, why are you in litigation? Why are you
And
fighting
just
this?
you think you're already a lawyer, you know?
Yeah.
But that is just not a good angle. I would not like, by all means you can talk about your own experiences for sure.
Hmm.
But the fact that you're an apprentice truck stop mechanic does not in any way make you better able to represent these. You're a long, long way from that. You've got to make it all the way through law school first, and the bar exam, and presumably some practice in some firm somewhere. And then to get back to Tim's specific situation, just you have 3 years left of undergrad.
A lot could happen.
I just don't even think you should be like really thinking about law school at all.
Hmm.
To the extent that you should be thinking about law school, you should be getting straight A's.
Getting straight A's and trying out classes that sound interesting to you.
And working at the criminal firm over the summer. I think
Sure.
that's great.
Yeah.
You know, not to build your resume, but just to learn about legal practice.
Yep. Is this really what I want to do?
And if that's really what you want to do, then by all means, do more of that. But thinking about your personal statement at this point, you're not even close to ready.
Yeah.
Like, come back literally 2.5 or 3 years from now. That's when we should be talking about your personal statement. And you'll have a whole world of experiences between now and then. You'll live an additional like 75% of your adult life to this point
Yep.
in the next 3 years. Like, you're barely an adult, right? You're just starting out in undergrad. That's like extended adolescence. So you've been an adult for all of like 2 years. Well, go be an adult for another 2.5, 3 years, and then you'll be ready to think about writing this personal statement. Do you, like Tim, want feedback on your personal statement? You're in luck because we're going to bring back personal statement reviews on the Thinking LSAT podcast. Producer Josh has suggested that we call the segment King of the Hill.
Okay.
I think we could workshop that. But if you send in your personal statement,
Yep.
you will have a chance that we will read it on the show. But be warned, we're not going to pull any punches. We're going to start reading your personal statement one line at a time. And as soon as we find issues with it, we're going to stop. We think you're going to probably make it about 2.5 lines. The last time we were doing this, we were tapping out pretty early on the personal
Yeah.
statement.
Yep.
But see if you can keep us reading it.
Yeah. That's the challenge.
You can submit that at thinkinglsat.com if you're interested.
Cool. I'm excited to see what comes in. Nathan, what's the deal with Arizona State University?
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with Arizona State University, but Brianna wants to know. Brianna writes in about ASU Law's new part-time JD program. Brianna says, "Hi, Ben and Nathan. ASU Law just announced their part-time online JD program. The application opens June of 2025 with enrollment starting in January of 2026. Just wanted to put this on your radar for applicants like me who can't afford to stop working to attend law school. What do you think?"
My initial reaction to this is that this could be good. We've heard about ASU trying to be innovative in other ways to expand education on the college level, but presumably in the legal level as well, or the law level as well.
They
So
just
I'm
do
curious.
all kinds of interesting things there, it seems
Yeah.
like, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you listen to the Freakonomics podcast still, or if you listen to the spin-off of that, which I really enjoy, this podcast called People I Mostly Admire. And that's the host of that is a University of Chicago economist named Steve Levitt. I guess he's like economist emeritus, professor emeritus
Hmm.
now at
Yeah.
University of Chicago. But he's like actually starting a high school at at ASU or
Hmm.
in conjunction with ASU,
Hmm.
starting a high school.
Hmm.
And it just seems like they're doing all kinds of innovative educational things at
Yeah.
ASU. Love this. Love a new part-time, especially online JD.
Yeah, it opens up the market dramatically for them because now they can tap into people who couldn't otherwise get there physically. And hopefully, what you can also do with an online program is bring down the cost. I hope that's one of their goals.
It just makes so much fucking sense to do this stuff online.
Yeah.
Like Elon Musk is apparently super excited about getting everybody back to the office for some reason,
Hmm.
but lawyers don't need to be in the office to work. Even courts in COVID realized that they could do a lot of what they do online.
Mm-hmm.
As a teacher, I can't vouch for your third graders' chances of doing online school. I could see that being problematic.
Yeah.
But we've been teaching LSAT online now, believe it or not, Ben, almost 5 years.
Yeah.
COVID was 5 years ago, kind of
Mhm.
today, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And when the NBA shut down and all that. And
Yeah.
we moved all of our LSAT classes online, and we have never looked back because scores have skyrocketed. The classroom experience is better online.
Hmm.
These are serious adult working people, and there is absolutely no reason why they need to be wasting their time to
Commuting.
commute downtown
Yeah.
to sit in a lecture. The professor can do it just as well on Zoom. Anyway, Brianna wants to know generally how are employment outcomes for part-time programs and how are employment outcomes for online programs. Uh, it seems like we might not have that information quite yet because online JDs are very new.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we can talk about ASU law more broadly.
Yep. Let's start with the 509 data. We can start with their GPA. Their median GPA is a 3.9, which is up there. Their 75th percentile GPA is a 4.0, and their 25th percentile GPA is a 3.62. But the most important number of those is the 3.9. You really, if you want to get into any school, you ideally want to get above the 50th percentile in either the LSAT or the GPA, ideally both. They don't have any part-time data here, so I guess this
This is
is,
a quite similarly ranked program, though, right?
yeah,
ASU law, we were talking about Florida earlier
yeah.
at 28th in the country.
Hmm.
ASU law is part of a tie at 36th in the country. The median LSAT is just slightly lower. Median GPA is just slightly lower.
Hmm.
What do we think about employment? Should we look at the employment report
Yeah, we should.
for ASU?
The challenge here with this report is it does give us full-time and part-time data, but that's not based on the full-time and part-time programs at the school. That's literally referring to whether you got a full-time job or a part-time job.
Hmm. Yeah. So this is just in aggregate
Yes.
the employment summary for Arizona State University College of Law. You know, I can't imagine that employers would give a shit whether you went full time or part time.
I don't think they care either.
It's, the school is vouching for you. The school maintains its rankings based on its LSAT and its GPA profile. There's not huge differences at any school between the median LSAT of the full time program and the median LSAT of the part time program. Here for ASU, because this is a brand new program, they didn't even have a part time program
Hmm.
uh, last year, or so this is like totally brand new. I think all you can do is assume that the employment outcomes for this new program are going to be the same as the employment outcomes for the program as a whole.
Yep.
So, what do we think about the employment outcomes as a whole? Do we know what Brianna wants to do? I guess we don't.
Nope.
Well, let's see. Uh, 259 total graduates.
Yep.
This is an employment summary for the people who graduated in 2023. Guess we don't have yet employment data for people who graduated in 2024. For the class that graduated in 2023, 259 total graduates. 215 of them were employed in a bar passage required job. I think that's the important number to look at.
Mhm. Mhm.
215 out of 260, basically.
Yeah.
So 45 people doing other stuff. 20 of those are in a JD Advantage job, whatever that means. 2 of them in other professional positions. 4 of them are enrolled in graduate studies for some reason. 3 of them are employed but hadn't started yet at the time of this report. 2 of them were unemployed and not even seeking. 12 of them were unemployed and seeking.
Hmm.
So about 5% of the class who were not yet able to find jobs. That's not terrible. What's our big law ratio here?
So we have 36 going into big law, and then we have another 7 going into federal clerkships, which is pretty similar. So you have 43 people,
Call it
15,
20%. Yeah.
15, 20%. Yeah. So that's not great if you're going into this law school hoping to get a big salary.
But yeah, I mean, we would have known that basically just looking at the ranking, right?
Mhm.
I mean, this is just a school that's ranked 30 something in the country is not the type of school that all of the big law firms are out there just aggressively trying to hire. So they do have a pipeline, especially in Arizona. These people are working, they are practicing law,
Mhm.
but 42 of them are in very small firms. And then dozens more are in, other firms, less than 100 lawyers. 32 of them are in state, local, and territorial clerkships, which sound really good, but are just not nearly as prestigious as the federal clerkships. So that's why we add up big law lawyers plus federal clerks to figure out how many people are like probably going to make big money.
Yeah.
Um, those state and local, that's like a temporary position that you get after law school, and then you've got to go find a firm for yourself.
Mhm.
And those people just don't easily transition into big law. Mostly working in Arizona, pretty big chunk of them also working in California. That makes sense. Arizona, Phoenix and LA are only a few hours apart, so makes sense that people would end up in California. 7 of them going to DC. Those are probably government jobs.
Hmm.
Okay. What else do we know about ASU law?
Well, so we were talking about the online part-time program, but apparently there are also 3 locations for study. I guess this is just the ASU campus if you decide to actually go.
Oh,
Phoenix,
interesting.
there's a campus in Phoenix, Arizona. There's another one in Los Angeles, California, and then another one in Washington, D.C. These are all nice looking buildings.
Which somebody has to pay for, unfortunately. I was excited by the part-time online aspect.
Yeah.
The fancy buildings make me less interested in these
Mm.
schools because it just seems like a waste of money to me. Uh, Students can study for up to a year in our Washington, D.C. location to learn the law and see it in action. If you want to learn from experts in the fields of antitrust or international rule of law and security, or if you want to earn real world experience in our nation's capital, this is the location for you. The Barrett and O'Connor Washington Center is centrally located just blocks from the White House and the U.S. Capitol.
Oh, this is one block from Strategy Prep too.
Nice.
I remember walking by this. Yeah.
Ben's old office.
Yeah.
And was it ASU law back then too?
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing ASU?
Yeah, I do.
They've had a Washington, D.C. center for a long time.
Yes, but it says Arizona State University on the building, and I just took that as the university. I didn't know this was law related. And they have this claim too that they're the number 2 law school in DC.
Huh.
It's an interesting claim. Georgetown, number 1.
Yeah.
George Washington, I guess, is now ranked lower than ASU, but I wouldn't consider ASU a DC school, especially since you can't go there for more than a year.
Well, also, if only 7 out of 259 people ended
Yeah.
up working in DC.
Yep.
Fuck off. That's not a DC law school, number 2 law school in DC. What a bunch of horse shit. Wow. I mean, just amazing the type of lies that they're able to get away with.
Squeeze in, yeah.
Apparently, ASU will pay up to $750, or at least last year, ASU was paying up to $750 for you to attend an admitted students day.
Hmm.
Last year, we had a few different Demon team members taking advantage of a paid vacation to Arizona in the middle of winter. $750 doesn't go a long way for a vacation, but I suppose you could get a cheap flight and get a cheap room for a couple days, hang out in Arizona. So that's one reason to apply if you're qualified, is to see if they're willing to pay for your vacation next winter.
All right. So ASU has something called an achievement program, which is their binding early decision program.
Ooh, okay. Hate
Not
this.
good. Yep.
You know, like, got to learn more about it. But generally speaking, binding early decision programs benefit the school, not you. It looks like it benefits you because it looks like they're going to like slightly lower their admissions criteria or something, make it easier for you to get in. But remember, you just don't want to be one of these people that's left holding the bag.
Yeah.
And by the way, have we even looked at their scholarship information yet?
No. Let's take a look.
All right. Arizona, 36th in the country. By the way, they're tied with such prestigious schools as Illinois, Iowa, William and Mary, and Wisconsin, for tied for 36th in the country.
Okay.
This is a pretty bad offender in the scholarship game. I mean, you know, that might make it an attractive school for many of our listeners to apply to because they think they can go for a full ride. I'm looking at 5% getting full ride plus stipend, another 9% getting a full ride, and another 37% who are paying something less than half of the tuition. So only 2% of the people, that's 20 students, are paying full tuition. And this is a big school, by the way, 793 total students. 20 of those kids are paying full tuition, and another, 47% of the class, almost half the class, is paying more than half tuition. But 47% plus 2%, you got 49% of the class who's paying half or more. So less than half the class paying half or more of the nominal tuition.
Yep.
Which, by the way, is $51,000.
But that 2%, that's scary.
Oh, quite scary. Yeah, if you're there on no scholarship at all, it's like, you better be the kid of billionaires or something. You know, just you just don't give a shit about money at all. Because if you borrowed money to be one of the 2% who is paying full price, I mean, that's just like obviously a terrible deal for you. Really dumb place to borrow money, to put yourself behind the 8 ball. When you look at the LSAT and GPA profile, you know, you're going to be one of the, Jesus Christ, Ben, 50th percentile LSAT 165, 75th percentile LSAT 167, 25th percentile LSAT 156.
Oof.
So 9-point delta between the median and the people who are actually paying the tuition.
Wow.
You know, but by all means, if you have a 165 or higher, if you have a 3.9 or higher, and you want to apply to this law school and end up going there for free or even getting a stipend, that's fantastic. But if you're there with a 156 LSAT competing with people who outscored you by a dozen points, there's 11-point difference between the 75th percentile and the 25th percentile, which means that for the people who are above the 75th and below the 25th, now there is a 12-point differential between the bottom of the class and the top of the class.
How many standard deviations is that? I think on the LSAT, it's like 5 points for each standard deviation.
So a couple standard deviation difference in the LSAT.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a big fucking difference in the kind of exams you're going to be able to write.
That's where it's like you think about the ABA and their consumer protection organization, or right, that's what they're supposed to be doing. This seems criminal. It
Well,
seems like you're just setting someone up for failure. 100%.
like like any guild, they pretend to be a consumer protection, right? Oh, the reason why we have this blacksmiths guild is to protect the public from bad, shoddy workmanship, you know?
Yeah.
But really, what they're doing is they're just trying to eliminate competition, potentially tax competition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens with the ABA and this whole law school admissions scam. It's like
Yeah.
to even apply, you have to pay thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
right? Because take the LSAT, sign up for the Credential Assembly Service, apply to law school, the report fees from LSAC, you end up paying thousands of dollars to even apply to this school.
Yeah. No, it's
And
true.
then
You're cutting.
presumably they're
Mhm.
protecting you, but they're not protecting you because the bottom of the class here has a 3.62 GPA and the top of the class has a 4.0 or higher.
That's crazy.
So you got crushed in undergrad and you got crushed on the LSAT, and you're going to be the one that's paying tuition, not them.
The whole system. It dramatically cuts down the number of people who end up becoming lawyers. So it's protecting lawyers, law schools.
And they do it all in the name of access to justice,
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
right?
it's a weird
It's the
twist.
fox guarding the hen house.
Yeah.
They just, oh no, I mean, of course you have to go. Of course we need the American Bar Association to accredit these schools. So we have to protect the public.
You wouldn't want a shoddy education being given out in the name of the law.
But that's exactly what's happening. Make no mistake, to the
Yeah.
people at the bottom of the class, right? Like
Yeah.
not everybody is going to get any job
Yeah.
after going to this school.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, I wonder who are the people who are more likely to not find employment after. Is it the people with a 170 and a 4.0? Or is it probably more likely to be the people with a 156 and a 3.62?
Wait, you said when we talked about those numbers earlier, there are 15 people whose unemployment status is either seeking or unknown. So
Yeah, 15 people. That's from that class. Yeah. And there's 20 people in the whole school who are paying full tuition.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at this. This is 6%. So 6% of the class
Unemployed.
unemployed. And you got 2% paying full price.
Yeah. And then that's, not to mention, so it's 5% unemployed, but it's also there's a healthy chunk of other people there who are going to be underemployed or employed in some job that they didn't think, oh, it's a JD advantage that you are the Walmart shift supervisor or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was the point?
To be clear, we're not attacking ASU specifically. It's just that all schools in this range, I mean, it's like there really are haves and have-nots. And I think that if you go to a top 14, you have a much higher chance of, finding the kind of work that you're hoping to find. These pretender schools, and it gets worse as you get farther down in the rankings, and there's fucking 200 ABA accredited schools, right? We're dunking on Florida and ASU, which are ranked 28th and 36th in the
certainly
country.
Respectable in some respects.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I wouldn't not send our students to ASU.
Yeah.
At the right price.
Yep.
And because they give 5% of their class a full tuition scholarship plus stipend, and because they give another 9% of their class at least a full tuition scholarship, and because there are another 37% who are getting something more than 50% knocked off of their tuition, which might be 100% knocked off of their tuition, because of this absurd ABA standard 503, which is on the brand new 509 reports for this year. This is relatively new. We've talked about it a few times on the show already, but there's this big paragraph under the LSAT and GPA Oh yeah, there it is. So it's not ABA 503. It's some other requirement. Who knows? But under the grants and scholarships table, we now see this 2-sentence paragraph that says the term full tuition scholarships refers to scholarships that cover tuition and mandatory fees. And so what that means is you can list people as getting a half to full tuition scholarship, but you can tell them that they're getting a full tuition scholarship because they are.
Yeah.
You can say, oh yeah, we're going to charge you 0 tuition. It's a full tuition scholarship. And they can write that on the letter of admission to you. But then if you sign up for that and there are any fees, mandatory fees that weren't covered by your scholarship, they get to report you on this 509 as only a half to full scholarship. So it is possible that those people are getting full rides. Some chunk of those people could easily be getting full rides.
They could be getting more than full.
They could be getting more than full as long as it doesn't cover all of their mandatory fees.
Yes.
Okay, onward.
Onward. Yeah. So back to the binding early decision program.
Oh, right.
Okay. So I'll just read about this and then
Okay.
we can talk about, just don't do it. But here's what it says. The ASU Achievement Program allows applicants, Achievement Program. Yeah. Is that what you're laughing?
Yeah.
This is marketing in full force here.
Well, because they want to, yeah, they're trying to like, they're just doing the super patronizing, like tapping you on the head ahead of time. Like before you even have applied, it's like,
oh, achiever.
You might be a little Lebowski urban achiever or whatever. Yeah, okay, right, go ahead.
The ASU Achievement Program allows applicants who meet certain criteria to apply to the JD program without taking the LSAT.
Oh, that's bad for you.
Let's just
That's
stop
not
right
good
there.
for you.
Yeah. People think that's great. They're like, oh, I can skip the LSAT, but you're just taking yourself. It's like removing your house from the MLS. Maybe that's not a good enough analogy for people, but it's like you're not making yourself eligible to compete with other schools or to apply to other schools, and therefore
you're making yourself ineligible.
Yeah.
To apply to any other school. You're making yourself ineligible for a scholarship offer from any other school.
Yep.
If you do this. I mean, it's binding anyway. So like if they admit you, you have to go. That year, you can't go to any other law school if you apply and are admitted to this achievement program. Okay. By the way, I just wanted to look. So last year, on the 509, I don't see any people. They don't have listed a number of people who were not included in the UGPA calculation. Or sorry, in the LSAT calculation.
Yeah,
they do have 3 people on the 509 who were not in their UGPA calculation, probably international students who did not get a GPA on a 4.0 scale. But they don't list anybody who didn't have an LSAT. So this could be a brand new program or
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
In general, we learn the applicant must have earned or will earn a bachelor's degree from ASU within a particular time frame.
Yeah, so they're poaching their own undergrads for this law school program, which presumably they will charge you full price. I mean, they're not, it doesn't say anything here about a scholarship, I don't think.
Listen to this. If you're interested in applying to the ASU Achievement Program, please contact our office before applying or registering with LSAC.
Yeah, sure. Because they don't want you to be part of the MLS. They
don't want you to start getting those notices like, hey,
you're looking to sell your house for cash. Make sure you talk to me first before you go talk to a realtor or, put it on the MLS.
Yeah.
Come talk to me first.
I'll help you out.
I'll help you out. I'll help you out. No problem. Look at the super prestigious high scores you have to qualify.
Okay. You have to have a bachelor's degree from ASU, and it must be awarded in the winter of 2024 or spring of 2025. So, okay. This
right now. So they're they really want people who are going to go, like they're looking to slot you in.
Okay. You have to have a cumulative undergraduate GPA of 3.5 or above through 6 semesters of academic work.
Wow, what an achievement. 3.5 or above.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
so
This is, wait, what is their median again?
well,
GPA?
their median GPA is 3.9,
3.9. What's their 25th percentile?
3.62.
Oh. Oh,
Well, they have to
wow.
get people who are going to pay the tuition somewhere.
So they're picking.
So
So this is where I'm saying things are criminal, because they're picking these people up before they have
yeah,
any clue what the hell is going on.
yeah.
Okay. It says you have to have a score at or above the 85th percentile on the ACT or SAT if you are applying as an ASU undergraduate student.
If you're still an undergrad, yeah. So if you've already graduated, then I guess they don't care about your ACT or SAT. But if you're still an undergrad, you do have to be almost done because you have to have a 3.5 or higher from them
For 6 semesters.
through 6 semesters. And then you also have to have an 85th percentile ACT or SAT. But I mean, that's not impressive either. An
No.
85th percentile ACT or SAT. I mean, remember that law students tend to be the cream of the crop from undergrad,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Not in like science and mathy type of things, but these are the people who easily scored in the 90th percentile on all the verbal stuff they ever did on the ACT, SAT. That's the people who tend to go to law school and be successful in law school.
Hmm.
So this, they're putting in numbers there where it's like, oh no, we had, stringent criteria to be part of this ASU achievement program.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, it is binding. So if you apply, you can't go to any other school.
Well, and look at this last claim, which we kind of already knew, but boy, it really just reveals how crazy this is. Any achievement applicants with a valid LSAT score on file with the LSAC, that's their words, not mine, with the LSAC, or who register for the LSAT will have their application and or offer of admission withdrawn.
Wow. Taking the LSAT or registering for the LSAT or even having an LSAC. Well, no. So registering for the LSAT or taking the LSAT.
You sign up for the LSAT. You haven't taken it yet.
You're out of this program. See ya.
See ya, bye. That's a threat.
It's only for people who don't take the LSAT because they want to know that you're not going to have any offers anywhere else.
Well, they also want to not report your LSAT.
And they want to not report.
They're trying to get people to pay full price without hurting their 509 data.
Yeah.
That is so fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do it
They're
in
trying
the
to get a
guise
free
of
ride.
a benefit. And they
man.
sell it as a benefit to the kids, right? Because
Yeah.
it's the ASU achievement program. If you meet certain criteria, you
Hey,
don't even need to take.
Don't worry about all that stuff. Yeah, just
Matter of fact, we'll prohibit you from even being in the program. Like,
wait, what?
Wait, you were serious about law school before you heard of this program? Nah, we don't want you. We only want people who didn't want to go to law school until they heard about this program. Or, we want, you've got an LSAT on file. Sorry, can't take you.
Damn.
Okay, I want to give a big yikes to all of that. I want to give a big yikes to the law school game in general, which that's no surprise if you've ever listened to this podcast before. I don't think the system is fair. I think that I don't think it's designed this way on purpose, but it has
just
evolved.
The outcome. Yeah.
The system has evolved in such a way that it takes advantage of poorer, less fortunate people.
Yep.
It because it's too easy to borrow the money and they can charge everybody a different price. Yep. They do it in the name of scholarships when what it actually is price discrimination. Any economist would say, oh, this is one hell of a racket. You can charge everybody a different price.
Yep.
And you can do it in a way that makes it look like it's a benefit to them.
Yeah.
Because you can just talk about scholarships and generosity and all this bullshit.
And higher education and transforming your life and opening doors for justice and equity.
Remember the slide with the red light, green light?
Yeah. Yeah.
The slide that I saw one time at a law school fair of some sort, and there was like a financing person up there. They had a slide up, and the slide was like, okay, credit card debt, red light.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's bad. Whew. Debt. That's bad debt.
Yeah.
Now, certain debt, like a car loan or a mortgage, that's yellow light. You need to be careful about that debt. But, there's good reasons why you might need to get that. Just use caution. Then they get education debt.
Green light.
Green light.
Go, 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 go.
I just imagine like some fucking 19-year-old kid going like, okay, yeah, I'm a first generation college student. Yeah, okay, I'm doing a good thing for myself here.
Green light, go. Yeah, yeah.
I know that debt's probably pretty bad and scary.
I mean, they said it was bad for credit card debt, and I know that
they said, yeah, that means I can trust them because they said like you don't want to, they're really cautioning me against racking up $6,000 on my visa. So they can then charge me.
Which can be discharged.
And it's just small fucking potatoes.
Yeah.
Like Visa's not stupid. They're not going to let you rack up $200,000 in debt.
Yeah.
But the U.S. Department of Education will.
Yeah.
Cut the check, send it straight to ASU Law. You owe the money forever. Meanwhile, ASU Law, like they're giving scholarships to the people who have high LSAT, high GPA. They're bullshitting you, right? It's just gaslighting, basically. They're just like telling you about, oh, well, there's outside scholarships that you can apply for. And, they also take a look at the public service loan forgiveness programs because, hey, you might never even have to pay this back.
I'm going to tell you what those lights really should be. So, yes, house and car, yellow light. Credit card debt, red light. Yeah. Student loan, it's like a fucking Star Wars red lightsaber. And it's coming after you. And you're like, oh shit, turn the car around and get the fuck out of here.
It's a red light that actually chases you. Yeah. If it was fairly priced, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they had to charge everybody the same amount, that would be a step in the right direction. They don't. They charge people wildly different amounts. As we've talked about on the show, they even pay some people to go there.
Yeah.
So they're letting some 19-year-old borrow $250,000
mm-hmm.
so that other kids can go for free or even get paid to go there. And those are the kids who have higher LSAT, higher GPA. Those are the kids who are going to get better grades in law school and better jobs after graduation. And they're doing this all in the name of, access to justice and how glorious the law is and what a great opportunity this is. And, that debt? Oh, that's green light debt.
Yeah. Come on.
Shocking, honestly. I mean, it's funny that like I continue to get more shocked. I've been in the business now of LSAT teaching since 2007.
Yep.
But I still like every time we do this, I'm just like even more and more shocked at how unfair the system is.
Yeah. You just keep seeing the numbers over and over again and they really sink in. You're like, damn, there's somebody behind those numbers.
And especially shit like this.
Yeah.
This ASU achievement program just really does seem to shine some light on it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, look, they won't even let you be part of this program if you have an LSAT on record. Because if you have an LSAT on record,
or register.
They either have to, or even register, which, you're on the way to getting an LSAT on record. Because if you do, then they would either have to report your low-ass LSAT,
mm-hmm.
or you would be in a position where you would be getting some of the scholarship offers from other higher-ranked schools. They would realize like, shit, we're going to have to actually give you a scholarship.
So it just reveals their true motivation.
Yeah, that if you have a high LSAT, they're going to want to give you a scholarship. They're going to want to admit you separately.
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny. So like, think about what if you're an ASU undergrad? Let's say you're a junior. You've got like a 3.9 or a 4.0. You look at these requirements and you're like 85th percentile ACT, SAT. I had like a 99th percentile SAT.
I got to 3.5 easily.
Maybe you've taken a practice test before, LSAT, 160 out of the box, practice test. Sign up for this program. Don't take the LSAT at all. Guarantee they charge you full price. Sign up for the LSAT. Take the LSAT, get a 168. The same law school is going to have to give you a full ride. Or else you'll be like, why would I go to your school? I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So this is a program that is just clearly bad for their undergrads, right?
Yep.
I mean, is this good for anybody?
It's weird because it's bad for the undergrads, but it's good for the undergrad institution because
Because it looks good.
the law school is part of that institution. So ultimately, it's just going to bring money back to the school.
There's no question it's good for ASU, but it
Yeah.
is bad for the students at ASU
Yeah.
because it's bad for the students who get admitted through this program, right? Because they're going to end up footing the bill.
Well, and this is something too where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. I suspect the law school is like, yeah, awesome. And other people at ASU are like, oh, LSAT's tough, but we do have a program for people like you, and you can get into our prestigious law school by following this program. And they don't realize they're just bought into the whole like achievement program marketing,
And it's just cannon fodder, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, well, somebody has to be at the bottom of the class. Somebody has to pay full price. So sure, let's have this program over here where they don't even get to participate in the price discrimination scheme because they're going to bind themselves to us by not taking the LSAT. Ouch. Good school to apply to. Go fishing for scholarships. Maybe take a paid vacation next winter if they admit you. Maybe end up going there if they give you an attractive scholarship offer.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this school for the people that are at the top of the class. What did we say? 20% big law?
Yep.
So, like this is the kind of school where if you go there and crush it, which if you're there on a full ride or even better, a full ride plus stipend, yeah, like there's a lot of soft competition at this school. You'll be competing against the people who are there via the ASU achievement program.
Yeah.
And you'll be there competing against people who have GPA 0.3 of a point lower than yours, which is a lot. I mean, that's the difference between an A and an A- in every fucking class.
Yeah.
All 4 years of undergrad.
Yeah.
You don't think there's a difference there? That's a big ass difference.
Yeah.
Every single class, just 1 mark lower.
Yeah.
Those are the people, if you're in the 75th percentile, you're competing with people who got 1 mark lower on every class in undergrad.
Yeah.
And you outperformed them on the LSAT by double-digit points.
Multiple standard deviations.
You're way better at school than they are. You're way better at tests than they are. Now you're going to go to school and take tests to get grades to determine what kinds of job opportunities are going to be available to you upon graduation.
Yeah.
So go to ASU on a full ride, kick ass against weak competition, get the job of your dreams.
Yep.
Just don't be on the other side of that bargain because that is a very stacked deck. And not that we haven't already said it before, but this ASU achievement program is stacking the deck against its own undergrads. Like, stop it. You think it's benefiting them, but it's not. All right.
Word of the
Should
week.
we move on?
Yeah.
Word of the week comes to us from Demon team member Abigail. Test 2, section 2, question 11. We're not going to read the whole question, but this is a very common type of question that you'll hear on the LSAT. Which one of the following statements is consistent with one claim, but not the other claim?
Yep. I can see people getting mixed up on this. Consistent in this context just means, well, it's funny. I want to say consistent, but it doesn't. It's going to potentially contradict one of the claims. But what's really clear is that it's not going to contradict the first claim.
Yeah.
If you're consistent with the first person's claim, that if a statement is consistent with the first person's claim, then it cannot contradict that claim.
Right.
And I think this is where people get confused because it could be a different claim.
Well, let me illustrate, okay?
Yeah.
The claim Ben is wearing a hat is consistent with the claim Nate is wearing a hat.
Yep.
The claim Ben is wearing earbuds is consistent with the claim Nate is wearing earbuds. But the claim Ben is wearing glasses is also consistent with the claim that Nate is not wearing glasses.
Or that Nate is wearing a hat.
or that anything. I mean,
Santa likes carrots to cookies.
right. So, the fact that Ben is wearing glasses is not inconsistent with the claim that I am not wearing glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Those two claims can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's all consistent means in the context of the LSAT. I think the easiest definition for consistent in LSAT terms,
Yeah.
it just means not inconsistent.
Yeah.
Really?
You're right. No, you're right. I'm sure some people are like,
that's
wait,
confusing. I
consistent
know.
means not inconsistent.
That's confusing.
Yeah.
But like everybody thinks that, oh, Ben wearing a hat and Nate wearing a hat. Yeah, that's consistent. Ben wearing earbuds and Nate wearing earbuds. That's consistent. Ben talking into a mic and Nate talking into a mic. That's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Ben wearing glasses and me not wearing glasses is also consistent because it's not inconsistent. It can be true that he's wearing glasses and I'm not. Yeah. Can those two things be true at the same time?
Yes.
Can they coexist? That's all consistent means.
Yep.
So it's asking you for a statement that's consistent with one claim, but not the other claim.
Yeah.
It's going to be really easy for it to be consistent with the first claim.
Yeah. It just can't contradict it.
It just means it doesn't contradict the first claim.
Yeah.
So again, Ben wearing glasses and me wearing no shoes.
Or Ben wearing glasses and Santa loves carrots.
That's consistent because they can both be true at the same time.
Yeah.
But this question's asking you which one of the following statements is consistent with one claim, but not the other claim. And that means that it must be false compared to the other claim.
Must contradict the other claim.
That they can't be true. This other claim can't be, it has to like violate whichever answer you're going to pick.
Yep.
I'm interested to look at the definition. Yeah. So this is a place where the LSAT's use of this term, I think if you read the Merriam-Webster definitions here, you're going to lead yourself astray.
You could, although there is a definition that does fit, right? And that is the free from variation or contradiction. If you're consistent, you're free from contradiction. You don't
free from contradiction.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting because in that same definition, this, by the way, is definition 1A.
Yeah.
And I didn't read the whole thing because the first half of definition 1A says marked by harmony, regularity, or steady continuity, which sounds like Ben's wearing a hat, Nate's wearing a hat. Ben's wearing earbuds, Nate's wearing earbuds. Like that's harmony, regularity, continuity.
Sure.
But then it says free from variation. That also is wrong, right? Because Ben wearing glasses and me not wearing glasses. That's a variation.
Yeah. But it does say or.
Or, yeah. So free from contradiction. And that's the definition that they mean on the LSAT. When they say consistent, they just mean does not contradict.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. I'm glad. Thank you, Abigail, for suggesting that for Word of the Week. All right, fantastic. You can be LSAT famous. Please ask questions or share news with us on our website, thinkinglsat.com, or find us on the socials at LSAT Demon. If you have questions about the Demon, you can email our amazing help team. That's help@lsatdemon.com. Please check out our other podcast, LSAT Demon Daily. That was episode 498 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing you. Don't pay for law school.